Edward Joseph Cannon. I am an SES with the Navy. So probably a little bit crazy decision, but I'm really glad I made it. I had been now in Washington, D.C. since 1996, and now this was 2014, or coming up on 2014 at the time. And I had been at a headquarters or right in Washington, D.C. Since '96, but even 3 years before that I was in the DC area, so since 1993. And there's one thing that used to frustrate me a little bit was when I would go to meetings and people weren't in touch or aware of how it really works at the deck plate, how it works at an installation. And I started thinking to myself, well, my experience working at an installation, although it was 13 years at an installation operations, that now had been many years ago, and I just felt it may be time to see what I had done at the headquarters, how was it affecting people at the region. And so on one hand it was kind of a challenge to myself to say, well, let's see what's really going on with what headquarters has provided over these years, of which I had at least been partly responsible for. And get a little closer to the field. At the region, you're still not doing the day-to-day type of activities, but you're at least seeing it at a different level, and especially in Europe, and it's actually called USNM, so Europe, Africa, and Central Command. And there, it's kind of where the action is overseas. That's where the base support is really much more operational, and so an opportunity came open, and I talked to my boss about it. He looked at me like I had three eyes and said, how can you even do that? You're an SES, can you take that step back? And I said, well, as a civilian you actually can, but I would ask that could I have return rights, and I had to negotiate that as part of a normal process. And he said, sure, but just 3 years. And so I took it for the 3 years, and really glad I did that. I may have mentioned this before, but there's also selfish reasons. I know I'm getting close to the end of my career, and I thought it sure would be nice to do one more tour overseas. And timing-wise, my parents were still in pretty good health, and I thought that if I'm going to go overseas, this might be my last shot at it, if you will. And so I did that, and really glad I did it for a lot of reasons. I had a lot of people come up to me and say, really impressed that you kind of did that and stepped back. And I would make a point of, if anyone would try to address me as an SES, I would say no, I'm not. That's my old position. That's a position I'm going back to, but I'm here to do this job, and I hope that was projected as I believe I projected it. But again, just gave me a chance to be with a crew, be closer to that activity, if you will, and it was a decision that I'm still glad I did and made. After that, I moved to Naples, Italy. Boy, it changed a lot, and I would say for the better. Starting with the military itself, when I was there in the '80s, we had a very old and worn support site that was bursting at the seams and really couldn't provide all the services that our service members were looking for. When I came back to a fairly brand new, in Navy terms, installation support site that had housing, it had MWR, it had a Navy exchange and a commissary, it had a DoD school, DOD school right there on the property, had the chapel right there. So we went from kind of a very dispersed, limited support structure in Naples the first time to a consolidated, quality, well-built operation. And so, I think our sailors really enjoyed their time there, probably more than the old Naples, if you will. And then the other thing that jumped out that I know I got to take advantage of, but I also know our sailors did as well, and that is the airport, the commercial airport, was so much better than when I was there the first time. First time I was there, it reminded me of if not a third world country, certainly not a first world country. When I came back, really nice airport, not real large, but right on the main base as well. So the Navy shared the runway. And so what it meant was sailors, civilians, anyone there, you could park right on the base, walk around the corner, and get a hop for pretty cheap anywhere in Europe. You know, so that Naples airport, I think it was a real blessing that we didn't really get to take advantage of the first time around, and so that was really nice. And just being able to park on a base, you know, makes people feel more secure, but also saves our sailors money, just indirectly, because they don't have to pay for parking on the airport. So it was a real nice. And then, you know, as far as the town itself, Naples certainly expanded a lot. There may have been a mall there the first time I was there, but I never knew of any. When we came back, there were more than a few malls. There was definitely, you know, more department stores, and most of that was progress. Some of it, a little sad, because as we know anywhere, when the big conglomerates come in, and this is not a political statement, it's just a fact that it's harder for the little shops to survive. So you see a little of that little town, little shop going away compared to the first time around. But overall, I think just vast improvement over the first time I was there. We knew all along, we were focused. It was the first time that when I was overseas that we knew exactly when we were coming home, because when I first went overseas, I didn't have return rights, so you had to kind of just look what job would be open, and 7 years became the number. But we didn't know that for sure when we first went overseas. This second time, we knew it was 3 years. So on one hand, it was probably easier to come home because we were able to kind of time, okay, by this year we want to do these 2 trips. We want to do this in work. I want to get this accomplished. And so it was a nice package, if you will. But still, leaving there, leaving the people, leaving kind of that little more relaxed lifestyle of Europe was not simple, and then coming back to a little more of the hectic life of a major headquarters, and the little more stress involved in the position itself. So, but overall, we had it kind of laid out, planned, and so I would say in the scheme of things, it wasn't that difficult to come home.